Hey everyone, this is Mr. Isometric, and in this video we are going to go ahead and rig this character that we made in previous video. If you haven't watched that video, go ahead and do, or if you are just here for animation, then continue watching because we are going to do that now. I need to rig the head and the body itself, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go ahead and parent the eyes to the head. So let's select both of them, hit Control P, and then we will say object, and then we are going to select the head, and then we are going to select the body. And I forgot to turn on the screencast keys, my bad. Okay, so select this, shift select this part, and then hit Control P. We are going to set it to the object. Hands, same, we are going to parent it to the body, Control P, object. Okay, legs, we are not going to parent them yet, though we are definitely going to go ahead and apply the mirror modifier. We are going to keep the skin and subdivision surface modifier. So let's go ahead and add the armature, and for that I'm going to add a new collection. Let's go ahead and call this as character, and now let's put everything that is character related inside that folder. Okay, and this is the background, so I'm just going to put that into the background. Let's keep the camera up front like that. Okay, now we are also going to go ahead and create the armature, but I think it is best if we first go ahead and select the bottom vert like this. Okay, and now we are going to add the bone. I think, yeah, let's just do it like that. Okay, let's just go ahead and add a bone. So we added a single bone, but we cannot see it because it is inside the mesh. And to see the bone clearly up front, there is an option called as in front. So just go over armature properties and just click on in front. So as you can see that we have our armature in front of our mesh. Now I can just take the head of it in the edit mode, and we can move it on the top, something like that. Okay, so the animation, if you haven't seen, I'll just put animation somewhere over that side, so you know we are going to make that animation. And for that we need our character to like move around in circles first. So that is the first thing that I'm going to do. So for that I'm going to use some constraints. So I'm just going to go ahead and hide this for now. Let's go ahead and add a circle. Let's move it down like that. Let's scale it up, something like that. Okay, I think this would be actually way too big. I think we need something like that. Let's go ahead and apply the rotation and scale. Now in the edit mode of the curve, select that point, and let's go ahead and add a armature, and we will add a single bone. So now this bone will follow the curve, so we need to add a bone constraint, and we can only apply bone constraint in the pose mode. So I'm just going to do that. We can either use follow path bone constraint, or we can use clamp too. Let's just try follow path for now, and we are going to assign the curve. There you go. And what we can do is we can play with the offset, and as you can see that my bone, it is moving over there. So we just need to play with the origin, I guess. I just need to move my bone at the origin over there. Okay, let me just go ahead and change this to that, and we just moved it over there. Okay, so now my bone will move on the curve like that, and we can animate this value if we want. Okay, now we want this bone to look towards this bone, and for that we are going to add another constraint, and that is track to bone constraint. Now usually I like to use damp track bone constraint. That constraint is actually really handy, and I want its so our bone's tail is going to be following that. So I think I should have just made the bone upside down. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Just go into the edit mode, right click, and then we can switch the directions like that. And now as you can see that my bone is tracking towards that, but I think tracking is not the thing we want, but we still can use it. So something like that. And now if I go ahead in the pose mode, if I move it, you'll see that my bone, it is moving towards the target bone like that. But also there is one thing happening and my bone is rotating, which I don't actually want because that will make my character to rotate as well. So I think it is better to use another bone constraint, which is damped track bone constraint. Now this constraint will not rotate the bone itself. And as you can see, it started following it. And now if we change the offset, now as you can see the damp track bone constraint, it will not rotate our bone. So that's why we are going to use damp track bone constraint. And now our character will move like that. So we are ready to rig the character. So just disable the constraint before doing that. And now let's go into the pose mode, select the bone, get out of the pose mode, select the body, select the bone, hit Ctrl P. And then we are going to click on the bone. So now our mesh is now parented to the bone. And if you move the bone, you can see that it is moving. I'm just going to go ahead and change this to sticks because like I really like the stick display, like it doesn't get in the way of the mesh. So now if I select the bone and if we go ahead and move it, oh yeah, before that we have to turn on the constraint itself. Now as you can see that character, it is now following the bone itself. So this is like procedurally animating stuff, which is a really handy way to animate things. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and disable that constraint and disable that constraint for now. Okay, so now let's animate the legs. And the way we are going to do is with the IK bone constraint. And instead of making the armature ourselves, I'm just going to go ahead and set origin to geometry like that. Now the skin modifier, it is a really handy modifier when you have to create the armature. And as you can see that there is a button over there, create armature. And when I click it, you'll see that it automatically created bones for both of our meshes without even applying the modifier, which is super handy. And I really like this skin modifier workflow. Also, it weight painted it for ourselves. So now we can use this legs to add the IK constraint. So just go inside the edit mode and select this bone. At the end, you can also change it to octahedral if you want. There you go. Let's select both of them. Let's click on extrude. We are going to move it forward like this. We are going to select both of them, hit Alt P, and then we are going to clear the parents, and then we are going to press Alt R to clear any roll that we have on the bone. It is not necessary, but I really like to do it. Now let's go into the pose mode. Select our bone, select that bone, press Shift I. And then this is a shortcut to add inverse kinematics bone constraint. So just click on that and you'll see that now this bone is acting like the target and IK will start working. Now we are going to do it manually on that side so that you know how to do it manually. So just select the bone on which you need to add the IK, and then we are going to select the inverse kinematics bone constraint. And as you can see that it starts working right off the bat, but we also need a target bone. So we are just going to select the armature like that, and let's select, okay, so we don't know the name of the bone, so I'm just going to turn on the naming system and it is bone number 8. So let's go ahead and select bone number 8. There you go. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and disable the names again. Let's change it to sticks. Okay, nice. So now we have the whole IK setup, and if we turn on the constraints again, as you can see, my legs, they are not following this bone over here. And for that, what you can do is you can go ahead and select the end of the bone. Now you want this bone to be stuck to the body part. So we are going to add a child of bone constraint, and I'm just going to select the armature, that one. And there is only one bone. We are going to click on set inverse. Now this has set inverse to this state and we don't want that. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo it a little bit so that, okay. And now we are going to go ahead and disable the constraint again. Let's select the bone. Let's go ahead and add a child of. Select the armature, and then we are going to select the bone, set inverse. Okay, good. And we are going to do the same on this bone. And a neat trick is to just select the bone, select that bone on which you have to copy the constraint from. Press F3 and then just type in copy. And when you click on the copy, you can copy constraint to selected bone. And when you do that, Now you have constraint over here as well. Let's go back and let's turn on the damp track. And now as you can see, my legs, they are following my main armature over there. And at any point I can like scale this curve down, and I can keep offsetting it like this. Okay, so now we are ready to animate stuff. Also, one more thing, you can always animate this bone as well. So you have now full control over the animation of this thing. So now we are going to go ahead and start animating the character. Okay, so the first thing is I want my character to move around in a circle. So for that, let's select this bone over here, and we are going to click on this button over there. If you are using like 24 FPS right now, so if you go inside the output properties, you can select the frame rate from over here. If you are using 24 FPS, I will suggest you to go ahead and take 24 and multiply it with the seconds of animation you want. So let us say you want 10 seconds of animation. I'm just going to put it 10 over there. And there you go. On the first frame, we are going to go ahead and animate it on the 0. And then we are directly going to go to the last frame. And then we are going to, let us say, make this 400. So now we know that it will loop back from frame number 1 to frame number 240. And in 10 seconds, it will make this many rotations. You can also preview your animation. If you hit play, you'll see that it is going a bit slow. And one thing about looping animation is that you need to use interpolation, which is linear. If you have a linear interpolation, it will blend in more like the constant speed. It will help you to get that looping effect in the animation. So yep, now this is going pretty slow at 24 FPS. So all I have to do is go back to that frame and then just let us say, let's make it 800. Let's add the key again. And now this is going pretty fast, and like I like this motion. Okay. And at any point while it is playing, you can always go ahead and change the circle. And as you can see, it is going to follow it. So now we are going to animate the bobbing up and down of this character. So let me just go into the pose mode. Let's go to the first frame. Let's go ahead and just add a single keyframe like that. We don't need that. We are going to actually add a generator so that we don't have to literally animate it up and down. So over here, as you can see, we have the Y location. As you can see, my local Y axis is pointing downwards. So I need to add a generator on this Y axis. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So we are going to go into the modifiers and then we will add a generator. Okay, so we actually didn't have to add the generator, but built-in function. And this is the sine function that we can see. And as you can see that it is pretty funny that it is doing that. Let me just make it like that. Okay, now we are going to go ahead and decrease the amplitude so that it doesn't do it that much. And then with the phase multiplier, you can control the speed of it. I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit lower. Like now we do want it to be a little bit faster. So just increase it slightly. Okay, this is actually looking really good. You can also increase the amplitude if you want, or you can decrease it. I think this much is really good. Let's go ahead and scale the curve a little bit more. Or should we scale it down? Yeah, let's just scale it a little bit more like that. Okay, this is actually looking really good. And that's it. Like that's all you have to do to animate something like that. So now let's go ahead and change it to the timeline. And now we need to loop the animation. And for that, I usually like to look into the camera view over here, as you can see. And now what we are going to do is we are going to go frame by frame. And we definitely know that it is going to loop at the end over there. But you actually don't need to render all the 240 frames. You can just go ahead and go over there and frame by frame right over there. All you have to do is just go back till over there and the frame number 31. If I do that, and now let's focus on this, and if I hit play, you'll see that there is a little bit glitching. So we are just going to go back one frame. We are going to go back one more frame. It is still glitching. Let's go back one more frame. It will loop at a certain point. Okay, so it is getting worse. So we need to find a position in which it loops perfectly. Oh, one thing that we can do actually to make this more perfect is we can go to the starting frame. And in the graph editor, you'll notice something with the generator function. So it is kind of offsetted. I don't know why it is offsetted like this. On the first frame, we need to offset it by one frame, and then we are good to go. So we are just going to go ahead and do that. So 0.9, there you go. So the maximum is at the frame number 1, and next maximum is somewhere. So our cursor, it goes maximum kind of over there, frame number 48. So frame number 48, let's set it to the frame number 48. Let's me make it to the timeline. There you go. Frame number 48. Okay, so now let's check if they match. They don't. Okay, let's see the 60 again. So it's down, it's up. It's down, it goes like that. Usually it takes a little bit of time to find out the perfect, but sometimes you have to just eyeball it. So let's see this, if this works. Okay, let's go down. Okay, so we are getting really close, and as you can see, we have found out that frame number 29 is the keyframe that we were looking for. You can always go a little bit one keyframe down, and as you can see that we can see a little bit of a glitch. So frame number 29 is the perfect keyframe for this. You won't even notice the shift, the change in there. So you can always increase the starting frame as well. Now we can still see the hopping a little bit. If we make it 30, now we can still see 32. Yeah, it is very prominent. So 29 frames is like the best frame that we can use to loop the animation, and we can't even tell the difference that it is looping anymore. So like if I make this down, and let's just concentrate on the camera view over there, and as you can see, all we did was to procedurally animate and spend just a little bit of time to find that one keyframe that loops perfectly. And all you have to do now is just render 29 frames. And your animation is now looping. And at any point, you can just increase or decrease this. Though this will kind of make your looping a little bit weird. So you have to fine tune it a little bit more. But yeah, we have animated our character and it is dancing right now. So in the next video, we are going to go ahead and add this spears inside the character. And then we are going to add the rigid body physics to it. And yeah, so for that video, stay tuned. And for that, subscribe the channel and ring the bell notification icon. Project files will be available on the Ko-fi. Link will be available soon as we complete this series. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.